This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to Talk Business and Politics Daily. It's Thursday, August 25th. Let's check out today's top stories. Arkansas home sales in July slowed from the more than 13% pace set through June, but the market is still hot and likely to continue in 2016 on the path to break records. The number of homes sold in Arkansas's four large markets totaled 15,033 in the first 7 months of 2016. That is up 10% compared to the same period in 2015. The 7-month tally was above the pre-recession 2005 high, when just 14,545 homes were sold in the 7-month period. The Walton heirs sold $255 million in Walmart stock in recent days to keep the family's ownership of the retail giant at roughly 50%. Last year, the Walton family announced it would pare down its shareholdings each year as they crept above 50% of the company's outstanding stock. The company's fairly aggressive share repurchase program this past year raised the Walton family's ownership stake. Enrollment at the University of Arkansas now exceeds 27,000 students for the first time. Preliminary numbers show that 27,065 students have registered for the fall semester. The university's total freshman class, with 5,022 students, is also a new record. And those are your top stories of the day. You can check out a full read on those articles, plus much more, at our website at talkbusiness.net. Still to come, George Jarrett, our newest correspondent in Northeast Arkansas. He rounds up business and political news from the Jonesboro area and other corners of that state, plus Representative Reggie Murdoch on his top legislative priorities and his advice for Donald Trump. We're back after this.
First Security is here. Only here. So that means we're here, here, and here. Even here. And definitely here. Because here is where we want to be for you. First Security Bank. Only in Arkansas.
At Deltic Timber Corporation, we believe in the responsible creation of communities, in the development of neighborhoods that bring convenience and comfort to life, while respecting the beauty and delicacy of nature. Like the harmonious balance of environment and expansion found in the thriving communities of Chenal Valley and Chenal Downs in Little Rock and Red Oak Ridge in Hot Springs. Because the best communities in the natural state are the ones that help keep it that way.
Representative Reggie Murdoch is the Democrat from Mariana. He's the vice chair of the House Insurance Committee and vice chair of the Health Reform Legislative Task Force. So he's going to be good for some insight on health care and more. We started our conversation by going back to Representative Murdoch's high school days.
All right, Representative Murdoch, in high school, you excelled in what extracurricular activity?
I want to say sports. I like to say football and basketball is what I'd like to say anyway. You had to verify that somewhere.
What did you play in football? What was your position?
Actually, then I was a 170-pound wide receiver in high school, and I was a point guard in basketball.
All right. Insurance rate adjustments. There's a hearing going on earlier this week about some of the insurance companies wanting some rate adjustments for the private option and the exchanges. Are you worried that the exchanges may be in some jeopardy as a result of some of this volatility?
I have some concern whenever we have that discussion going on, but I want to see it play out and see exactly what the input is that we're going to get from these participants to see exactly what they're saying. Some, rate conversation, increased conversation makes sense. So I just want to play it out and don't want to make a prediction right now as to where we're going with that. But there is concern, obviously, whenever there's this type of conversation.
In 2017, tell me a piece of legislation you're going to be willing to put your name on as a sponsor.
Wow, there's 2 or 3 things that are very important, specifically in the educational arena, as we deal with adequacy and opportunity to address the 10 poverty districts that we really are dealing with, specifically in the state that are being affected by this. How do we solve this? And we are here now. I'm here at the Capitol now in a work group working to try to deal with adequacy so we can try to really address the issues, along with Forward Arkansas being a part of something that they're coming on there, partnering with ADE. So excited about the potential of that. So we still want to see what that looks like, but I'm really interested to be a part of that effort.
In 2017, can you guys cut taxes and fund pre-K education?
I'm concerned with funding pre-K education to way beyond the limits that we've done it in the past. Cutting taxes at this point, it has to make sense. I mean, I'm not against cutting taxes, but I'm certainly not in favor of cutting taxes with some of the other cuts that I've seen to services, and specifically some of the other areas not being addressed. So I don't, at this time, see cutting taxes as a viable option for the overall growth of the state of Arkansas and the areas that really need growth.
But you might be in the minority on that in terms of where the votes are.
Absolutely, I may be, but all I have is my voice, and I'll advocate as much as I can to those in the majority so that they'll become sensitive to what the minority is experiencing, and so that our whole state can grow and be influential. We can't just continue to allow the rich to get richer, if you will, and in hopes that they will somehow ingratiate or encapsulate the others. Let's make sure that we address all areas when we come to these type of situations.
Yes or no, you're voting for Hillary Clinton this fall?
Yes.
All right, so give me one piece of advice you would give Donald Trump.
I don't have any advice for Donald Trump. I don't have any advice for Donald Trump.
That's Representative Reggie Murdoch. A quick break, and we'll go inside the numbers, and then we're joined by George Jarrett, our newest Talk Business and Politics contributor from Northeast Arkansas. More after this word from our sponsors.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
As Arkansas's population grows, so do our energy demands. But with the right mix of resources, reliable, affordable power will always be a reality. These resources are all around us in our rivers, blowing through our trees, even right below our feet. The answer isn't focusing on one resource, it's embracing them all. The electric cooperatives of Arkansas know that a balanced approach to power builds our communities and powers our dreams. Visit themixmatters.com and see why there's power in knowledge.
Time now to talk politics, but through the lens of the political numbers. Let's see what we can learn with the latest stats, figures, and countdowns. Let's begin with 95%. That's the percentage of African American votes Donald Trump says he'll win in his 2020 re-election campaign. Trump is polling in the low single digits, 1%, 2%, 3% with African American voters in several publicly released polls. In an effort to win more black votes, Trump argued, "What have you got to lose?" in his sales pitch, and promised that he'd turn around black youth unemployment, among other things. 15,000, that's the number of new emails that the FBI says Hillary Clinton did not turn over beyond her original 30,000. The 15,000 documents from her private email server from her time as Secretary of State will likely open up another round of scrutiny and criticism of the Democratic nominee. Expect more on this between now and Election Day. Speaking of Election Day, it is time to revisit the countdown. We're just 74 days until November 8th, so let's break it up into bite-sized servings. It's just 10 weeks. Start your countdown every Sunday with your calendar. 10, 9, 8, you get the gist. We're almost there. Still to come, George Jarrett, our intrepid reporter from Northeast Arkansas, is in studio for a look at some of the bigger stories we're covering in that region of the state. There's a lot going on. We're back to explore right after this.
Circuits turn on the lights by making a connection, by closing the loop. At Entergy, we believe our economy is circular too. What you put in comes back. So we invest billions in new infrastructure, which helps attract new industry, which helps create new jobs. We partner with local communities to electrify the economy. And together, we power life. Entergy.
You've likely heard of the Great Arkansas Treasure Hunt. In fact, you or your business may have property to claim in the hunt. But where does this treasure come from? Businesses like yours. The law calls it unclaimed property. If your business is holding money on its books that you've not been able to return to the owner, it's most likely unclaimed property, and the law requires it to be sent to the state auditor's office each year. Auditor Andrea Lee's office can make the process for businesses to comply with the law easy and straightforward. Help us help you return Arkansans' unclaimed property at auditor.ar.gov.
George Jarrett is the newest Talk Business and Politics contributor. He is in Northeast Arkansas. He covers Northeast Arkansas for us. Welcome to the program. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Roby.
Let's talk a little bit about Northeast Arkansas and what people don't know about the business and political climate in Northeast Arkansas.
Sure.
What would you tell someone?
Well, the first thing I would probably tell someone is that the political climate in Northeast Arkansas has changed pretty dramatically in the last 7 or 8 years. I remember a time when I worked for publications throughout that region when you really literally, there was only a one-party system. Democrats pretty much dominated that part of the state. And then around 2008, things started to change. The first congressional district, Congressman at the time, Marion Barry, he ran his last race. And by 2010, Republican Rick Crawford had replaced him. And then just about around that time, a lot of local Republicans started filing for offices. And by 2014, they now pretty much dominate most offices in that part of the state.
It's not even purple anymore. It's gone red in a lot of areas.
Yes, it's very red.
You have been covering a story for us that it's a local story, but it's got some statewide ramifications. It deals with a wet-dry lawsuit in Randolph County. Give everybody a little background of what that suit is and why it may have some state legs.
Basically what happens in the state of Arkansas, we have wet and dry counties. Wet counties you can sell alcohol, dry counties you cannot. Randolph County is a dry county. And in order to facilitate alcohol sales in a dry county, you have to have a petition where 38% of registered voters within the county, they have to sign it.
It's a high threshold.
It's the highest in the state.
Yeah.
No other petition calls for that number of votes. So it's really difficult to turn a dry county wet. What happened in Randolph County is they turned in over 6,000 signatures. They needed roughly 3,800. The county clerk there, she dismissed a bunch of them, and most of the ones that she dismissed were probably for reasons like the person wasn't actually registered to vote in the county. There might have been some other issue, like maybe their voter registration had lapsed.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of
maybe
issues.
some duplicate signatures there, at least the handwriting looks like that.
Right.
Yeah. So some valid reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what happened is these they only counted about 3,400 of them, which means they were 361 short. So the people who started the petition movement in Randolph County, they filed a lawsuit in circuit court asking for relief. Now, the thing of it is that this has happened before. This is not the first time in the state of Arkansas a petition like this has gone to court. What's unique in this case is the judge in the case, Judge Phil Smith, it may be a precedent-setting decision. If he decides, pretty much what happens, and not to get too much into the weeds here on this, but what happens is if you sign a petition sheet, let's say, and someone who doesn't live in the county signed the petition sheet as well, that entire sheet can be tossed.
Yeah.
So
the law allows for that.
The state law allows for that. So in this case, they had 5 signers per petition sheet. Well, they went in and they found, roughly 100 or so people who had not, who didn't live in the county, who had signed these sheets. So what the county clerk did is she tossed all of them. So
maybe
not
as
just
many as 400, which would put them over the threshold.
Actually, actually it's more closer to 800 that were thrown out through this process. So what the judge in this case will decide, could decide, is that that this basically is unconstitutional. That as the legislature didn't intend for an honest person who signs a sheet for their vote to be, or their petition signing to be thrown out with just because someone who doesn't live in the county signed the same petition.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll watch the ruling on that and see how that goes. There's another nice controversy brewing in Jonesboro area around convention centers. We have 2 of them, and for a city the size of Jonesboro, that's pretty unprecedented. But give everybody kind of a lay of the land of the convention center controversy.
Basically what has happened is you've got these 2 competing convention center ideas or projects. What happened was both of these entities went to the A&P Commission in Jonesboro. They were seeking tax abatements, they were seeking advertising help just all the kind of the goodies a city will put together to try to lure a project like that. Well, the Keller family project, they petitioned the AMP. They asked for $300,000 in advertising and a 3-year tax abatement. And the other group, which is O'Reilly Group,
affiliated with Arkansas State University,
affiliated with ASU, they asked for, I think, 18 years worth of tax abatements and twice as much in advertising money. So basically what happened was the city of Jonesboro decided that they were going to go with the Keller Group project. It's a 165-room hotel, 37,000 square foot convention center. And but then ASU and the O'Reilly Group, they decided to go ahead with their project anyway. And so there's a moratorium as far as them being able to go back to the AMP to ask for some type of tax abatement relief. Right. But it's interesting because the two most powerful entities, the city and the college, are kind of at odds over this. Yeah. And I've talked to people, off the record, who've said, implicitly that there's probably no way that the city can support 2 convention centers. So it's going to be interesting to see how O'Reilly and Keller, how they're going to get their money back out of this and how this will affect the college and the city.
We may have a Darwin's theory in place here, the survival of the fittest. We'll see what happens. All right, he's George Jared. He is our Northeast Arkansas political writer and business writer. Thank you so much for being here. And you can catch his work each and every day at talkbusiness.net. Thanks, George.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you bet. That is all for for today's edition of Talk Business and Politics Daily. Not this week, this day. So we hope that you will tune in tomorrow for a little bit more. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you then.